One of the central contradictions at the heart of fandom has always been this. Fandom is free. It has to be free because of intellectual property laws. But the object of that fandom, the thing that fandom surrounds, that is big, big business. Fanfiction is free. Fanfiction has to be free because of copyright law. In the United States, we generally consider that fanfiction falls under fair use protection. And another thing that helps fanfiction in its legality status is its status as a non-commercial entity. But for a long time, we weren't sure of the legality of fanfiction, and many published authors were able to stop fan activity in general via sending extremely threatening letters to fanfiction writers. In part because of this, I think a lot of people have a very knee-jerk reaction to the idea of people earning money in exchange for fan work, principally for fanfiction, since fan art tends to be even more of a gray area, and I know plenty of people that take commissions for fan art related drawings or who sell fan merch. Even I have had this knee-jerk reaction. I still stand by a lot of what I said in my Hermione bookbinding and copyright video, but there are layers and dimensions to this issue that I just didn't have time to explore in that one. I've seen a lot of discussions about this insistence on all fan work being done for free, whether it's a legal and external pressure or whether it's a more internal pressure that's meant to preserve the gift economy, and the way that that has the effect of excluding working class people from fandom. At first glance, I found this kind of insulting. Without disclosing my own financial situation, I know plenty of people who are not in any way wealthy and even who are not even comfortable financially who still participate in fandom, including but not limited to people who cannot seek employment for disability or various other reasons. But on second thought, it is totally a limiting factor. If you work long hours, if you work a very physically or emotionally exhausting job, if you don't have a stable place of residence, all of these things can prevent or drastically reduce your ability to participate in fandom and to create fan work in various forms. And it is possible that if you were able to earn some money from your fan work, that would somewhat alleviate the issue. Speaking of gaining money, I make very little money from YouTube, but all I ask is that if you get anything out of this video, you consider supporting the channel by liking or subscribing. Thank you very much. I also recently read a really interesting article called How Fanfiction Makes Us Poor by Cupid's Bow. Inspired by How to Suppress Women's Writing by Joanna Russ, this essay from 2007 discusses invisible sexism and how these principles apply to fanworks and communities that, especially at the time but continuing on to this day, were primarily created by women. The essay talks about things like the double standard of content, wherein things that are considered as belonging to men or to the public sphere are given more importance in our society. Men don't just choose fields or activities that are more important. These fields and activities are considered more important because men choose them. Cupid's Bow applies this and other observations from Russ to the world of fanfiction, and then poses the question: is the non-capitalist aspect of fanfiction actually a method of silencing the artistic voices of women? And does it take away what should be legitimate opportunities for us to earn an income from what we create? The author even mentions a friend who works in publishing who dislikes fanfiction because it keeps women poor, although the friend also acknowledges that there is little to no money in commercial fiction for most people either. But it is a fair point, and I think it's one that should be discussed more. Women still earn less than men for the same work, and women are far more likely to live in poverty than men are. So it's fair to wonder if women individually should be working in a space that can never be commercial and whose creative output is so often devalued by the mainstream. Of course, to be clear, both I and the author of this essay believe that there is far more to gain from fanfiction than just monetary value. There's practice, the artistic and creative joy, a strong community, and an outlet for what is often an all-consuming passion. But I think that beyond just rethinking our perspectives on copyright law, it can occasionally be extremely helpful to remember that creating fan works is ultimately a form of work. And it's a form of work that fans are doing for free that can be very beneficial to the companies and individuals that in actuality own the rights to the original media. I think this is especially important to remember in light of the other major aspect of fandom, which is, of course, the media on which that fandom is focused. Not all fandom is focused on a specific piece of media, and not all of that media is owned by large corporations, but such a preponderance of it is that I think it's worth addressing in particular. We often assume that fandom and the gift economy keep us out of capitalism, and I do appreciate that it challenges the cultural pressure to monetize all of our time and activity. But fandom is still intrinsically linked to capitalism, as long as big businesses will use fandom to market to us, knowing that they have a built-in audience for their products. Disney uses fandom to solidify their power, acquiring products with extremely strong long-term fandoms like Marvel and Star Wars. Fandom is a rife ground for marketing. Arguably the largest fandom of the last 20 years is formed around Harry Potter. And look at how many products form part of that franchise. Movies, theme parks, video games, mobile games, wands and robes and candy, and the height of greed, an HBO remake TV series. The most prominent example of monetization of fandom that I can think of is K-pop fandoms. The companies that own these K-pop groups have improved the boy band formula to a terrifying extent. They can perfectly engineer these groups to succeed and garner ardent fan bases, and the fan culture of K-pop almost seems to see consumerism as a moral imperative. K-pop fans often seem convinced that it is their responsibility as fans to support their chosen group, and that support often comes through purchasing concert tickets and light sticks, extremely expensive albums, photo cards, and more. K-pop idols are a perfect marketing vehicle, and fans are a perfect demographic to market to. And though obviously there is artistry, there are musicians, there are wonderful people, I don't begrudge you for standing a K-pop group. I like Namjoon. But if you think this culture of financial support is an accident, I have a beach house in Idaho to sell you. And even if you're not buying things, when you participate in fandom, when you create fan content, you become a marketing vehicle. You do free promotion for whichever media you choose to create fan work of. I mention this in part to urge you to consider what you're promoting, particularly when you post on sites that are algorithmically driven like Twitter and TikTok. On Tumblr, you're max promoting to like 5 people. And when it does come to consumerism, obviously I don't think buying stuff related to the fandoms you're in is morally wrong. But I hope you never feel pressured into buying things, whether it be explicit or implicit pressure. And remember that at least some of the time, you might prefer to support some sort of artisan craftsmanship over a large business. We have been, and are going to continue to be, living through politically and economically difficult times. Buying something that makes you happy is not going to hurt you dramatically in the long run, but it's important to be able to resist the pressure when it comes to things that won't make you happy, things that aren't actually that important to you. Businesses don't care if you're going through a tough time financially. They will market to you anyway, so it's up to you to build the skills to resist them. And in a world where advertising is going to get not only more obtrusive, but also more difficult than ever to resist, those skills are going to be crucially important. Resist the urge to connect your personhood with your buying power, both in fandom and out of it, and I think you will be far better off in the end. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, it is completely free to like and subscribe, and I will be eternally grateful. See you in the next one. Is this video a recession indicator?